I'm excited to be here with us again this wonderful, beautiful Friday, the 14th day of August. And it's been so amazing the last few weeks on the discussions that we've had so far. And I'm here again with us, and I know it's going to be an amazing time together. Make sure that you are ready. Make sure you have your writing materials. Make sure you are glued to your screen. Make sure you also invite your friends, your colleagues, your neighbors, and those around you, and let them know that we are live on Mentored right now. All right. And it's going to be an amazing time. We're going to have a wonderful discussion as we interact on the subject for today. So I'm glad to come your way again. Thank you for being a part of this show. I'd like you to do well to like this video right now. Whether you're watching by YouTube or Facebook, like this video and begin to share this broadcast right now. All right, do that as aggressively as you can. Like and share. Let's get as many people online and to be a part of this show before we get it rolling. Once again, welcome to Mentors, and so glad to be with us again. I know I missed last Friday, and by the way, my apologies for that. But I know that we also had a wonderful time. Kim and Nino were here to just help us with the discussion. And we'll take the show today from where we left off last Friday and then see how we can conclude this subject of discussion. So kudos to those of us who were around and who were part of the show last Friday. And if you didn't join the broadcast last Friday, I would encourage you to go back and watch the broadcast, watch the stream again, and so you can be a part of what we're doing today. We're still on the same trajectory of thought and discussion, and I know it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful time. I believe that you are inspired. I believe that you are learning. I believe that the things we discuss are adding to your growth, your personal development, and your well-being. And I believe it's a worthy investment of our time, every one of us, regardless of where you're watching from around the globe. Once again, welcome to Mentored. We'll take a quick break. Whilst we do that, make sure you like, share this broadcast. If this is your first time watching or being a part of this show, we want to welcome you to Mentored, okay? I'd like you to hit the subscribe button and make sure you turn on the all notification icon so you can get notifications on both this show and other contents on this platform that will really inspire you and bless you. If you're watching on Facebook, be a part of our social community by following that page as we proceed. Once again, welcome to Mentored. We'll take a quick break right now, and when we come back, we'll get the show started. All right, welcome back to Mentored. I'm excited that we are here again. And also for those who just joined the show, you're welcome to Mentored. This is the platform that concerns your growth, personal development, and transformation, authentic transformation. As we interact with informations that connect with our everyday life and the problems around our current dispensation, and see how we can, by wisdom and knowledge, know how to tackle these things and stay at the cutting edge of society. I welcome you to Mentor. Thank you for liking this video, sharing this broadcast, and I'll encourage you to do that all through the broadcast. Now, last week we had some questions that I would like us to begin by attempting, and then after that we'll get into the discussions for today. Maybe we'll extend it up until next week before we finally bring an end to this wonderful subject that we have been discussing the last few weeks. So let's begin with a word of prayer. Father, we thank you for everyone watching right now, whether from Europe, here in Africa, in America, or in Australia, or in Asia, and any part of the world. We thank you because you will illuminate our minds with knowledge and understanding, and thank you for the wisdom that we gain by reason of the discussion today. And you grant me wisdom and the ability to speak and communicate effectively to everyone watching and listening. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so we'll start with the questions of last week. By the way, I know you had a good time with Kim and Nino. They did an amazing job, and they are here with me in the studio. You know, one of these days we'll get the camera for you to see everything happening around me. It's really a full house, okay? So it's a lot of work facing this camera and talking to you right in your homes or in your offices. But then again, they did amazingly well. And we have 3 questions that I'd like us to begin with from last week's session. And then we'll go into the discussion for today. Remember, we've been on the discussion conflict resolution. It's a series we've been taking, and we've done about 3 parts. We started with misunderstandings, which are very fundamental, or the most fundamental reasons why we have conflicts across relationships. And then we talked about the power of communication. We also talked about third-party roles. And last week was just to interact and have a review of all that we have discussed on conflict resolution series. So let's start with these 3 questions. Question 1 says, are appraisals very effective, especially for people who avoid open criticism? Are appraisals very effective, especially for people who avoid open criticisms? Now, appraisals are very important. In fact, they are fundamental to growth, individually and organizationally. It's important that you have a system that appraises what you do, that examines your character, your attitude, so that you can well develop in that area of specialty or be able to develop yourself personally. But because of the differences, individual differences, because of people's unique character and attitude, appraisals will have to be communicated as is unique to the individual. If you are dealing with a corporate organization, then the appraisal can be done generally. But if it's a one-on-one appraisal, it's true that there are people who try to avoid criticism, and there are many reasons for that. Some people struggle with low self-esteem. Some people have had to battle mediocrity, and some other people battle with inferiority complex. And so for them, an appraisal, they drive it to the extreme to think it means they didn't do well at all. Very few people have grown to the point where they are welcoming to constructive criticism of their actions or their attitude. So, appraisal is very effective. They're absolutely, even for people who avoid open criticism. When you find a person who avoids open criticism, then there is a way to better communicate to them. Those kind of people, don't appraise them in public spaces, first of all. And then number two, when appraising them, you may want to avoid doing it at the site of action. Maybe the person did wrong. Correcting the person there may not be helpful. It may be misunderstood. Another way to do it is to start by praising them. You have to find at least one good thing that person is known for, especially the thing that they are consistent in doing. Start with that. It gives you a leverage, an emotional leverage. You're accepted because you have something that is worth testifying about them that is good, and they would want to hear it. That opens the door for you to seed in your criticism of what needs to be corrected. So appraisals are very good, very effective, even for people who avoid open criticism. But you need to be wise in knowing how to communicate it to them. Question 2. How can you handle someone that always wants to provoke or always make you angry? How can you handle someone? I think this question was asked by a lady. I think. How can you handle someone that always wants to provoke or always make you angry? Well, for the sake of your emotions to be in check and so you don't lose control, you may want to avoid them, or avoid lengthy conversations with them, or avoid heated conversations or arguments with them. Yes. In fact, beyond people who always want to make you angry, there are people who easily get angry. Just saying something. You may just be catching a joke with them, and then they can flare up with that. So you may want to avoid them. Either you avoid them or avoid lengthy conversations or heated discussions or arguments with them. If you ever will speak with them, try to place boundaries. Tread carefully with your words so you don't spike up anything. And then if you have to speak with them, learn not to take to heart anything that they say. You know, I think I read that in the Bible. It talks about not taking to heart everything that you hear. And it's very important. Not everything necessarily needs to have access into your heart. You need to be in control of your emotions, control of your psychology, and not allow everything, to get you worked up. I think I would see. I think I would see that. I should find that scripture. Okay, yes. In the Holy Bible, Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 21. Also, do not take to heart everything people say, lest you hear your servant cursing you. The next verse says, for many times also your own heart has known that even you have cursed others. So then not to take to heart everything that people say. And then life is such that, as you grow older, you begin to mature in how you handle your feelings. So you are not easily provoked. I think that's what it means to be meek. You are not easily provoked and you do not easily provoke others. Or you are not easily offended and you do not easily offend others. Question 3. As a mediator, at which point do you get involved in getting both sides of the issue separately or when mediating to avoid forming bias? Okay, I think I understand this question. How do you get both sides of an issue without being biased? Is it separately or while speaking to two of them? Now, both ways are fine. You can get both sides of a story either by isolating them individually, and some of the reasons for isolating them individually may be if there is a heated exchange between both parties in such a way that if they stay in the same space, it may result to something catastrophic. So you can isolate them and then get to hear each side. For instance, if you are counseling a married couple, some couples, if you start talking to the two of them, one may not want to say much where the other is. And there are people like that. They are not expressive where the other partner is. Maybe because they are angry, emotional, or something. Or they are afraid of the other partner. They are afraid of being silenced or the presence of the other partner. So you can isolate them and then get to hear both sides. You can also hear both sides when having a conversation with the both of them. So use the one that works well for the situation. That's what I would say. And another way not to form or become biased when mediating is not to give concluding statements when you've just heard one part. Most times in a conflict, especially if the two parties come to you, there's this thing with human beings. We always tend to, I think it's psychological, but especially, and it manifests during conflict situations, but we try to always find we try to look for the succor of feeling that we are heard, we are understood, or that the person we want to place as a judge support you. Yes, most times we fall into that trap. So when you are resolving a conflict, do your best to calm each party down and get them to be able to speak to you, but don't make any concluding statement. Make them understand that you'll also need to hear the other person, because you are not judging the issue. You are there to mediate for peace. So making this party understand that I will have to hear from the other one, that's already the first step of ensuring that each individual knows that you are vying for peace. That the issue is not as important as the relationship, even though the issue should be resolved. But the reason why you have to hear from the other person first is because somehow this issue should be resolved and two of you or all of you must return back together. So you can do it separately or you can do it while mediating between the two of them. Use the option that works best, accustomed to the situation at hand. Well, I believe that the people who ask these questions are satisfied with the answers that have been given, so we can get into the discussion of today. Today we are going to talk about love, forgiveness, and healing. Still conflict resolution series, but we are going to talk about love, forgiveness, and healing. We started with misunderstanding. We talked about the power of communication. We also talked about third party roles, the role of third party in conflict resolution. Now we want to talk about what I believe is the medicine for resolving all conflicts. Love, forgiveness, healing. Let's start with love. What is love? Well, many of us will be smart enough to go check our dictionary. And for some people, you may say, love is the strong attraction or force of attraction or bond of attraction between two or more individuals. Some people would describe love as a feeling, a mutual feeling that connects two people. You know, we may have many things to say in trying to define love, but when you look critically at the things we'll have to say when trying to define love, we may at best just be trying to explain around love. Because in truth, love cannot really be defined. Love is an action word, is a verb. It is more expressed than explained. It is more experienced than defined. It's a mysterious connection between two people. Have you ever asked yourself why you love people? Or why you love something? Someone will say, I love you because of this. Oh, I love you because of that. Oh, this is the reason why, this is what I love about you the most. And sometimes I feel that, well, maybe because many of us, the English is not our first language. But truly, you cannot have a reason to love people. You can have a reason to like people. I like you because of this. That's why it's the word like. Okay? There's something in you that connects with the other person. There's something in the other person that resonates with you. Maybe you have similar values. Maybe you have similar tastes and preferences. Just some similarities, and that's where like comes in. But love was never meant to be conditional. Love was never meant to be to have a reason. It's the mystery that connects all humans together. Love. It was meant to be expressed. It was meant to be experienced. And when we allow our relationships to be deeply rooted in love, there will be very few occasions where we have conflict situations. Now, if you want to bring resolution of conflict, one thing that must not be missing is love. The very thing that brought the two parties together, the two individuals together. In some cases, the two organizations together. Love and mutual respect. Unfortunately, many relationships, I hate to say this, but it's the truth. Many relationships are actually, the foundations of these relationships are actually tested during conflict situations to see what was the adhesion? What was the fusion? What was the bond? Or what was the connection? What birthed that relationship? Was it love? True love? Was it transactional? Was there a transactional situation? And when we have conflict, you see that the very foundations of our relationships are tested. And then it is revealed. And sometimes the reason why certain relationships may never heal or may never return back after a conflict situation may either be because there wasn't love in the first place, or the love is no longer there. Because if we accept the fact that love is an unconditional bond that connects people, then if love is present, regardless of what has happened, there will be something in the parties involved to sue for peace, to vie for peace. When the whole heated exchange is over, when the whole polity is down, that the love for one another. You know, those of us who are familiar with the Bible, you remember the story of David and Absalom, his son. Absalom messed up big time. He killed his own brother, you know, and he had to live away from the city, away from the palace for about 3 years. But even though David had lost his son because of another son, after those 3 years, it's written there in the Bible that the heart of David longed for his son. And that's love. Love is a thing of the heart. You will not get angry forever. Someday, you begin to desire that connection. You begin to desire that person again. Now, it must happen to both for any conflict resolution to find expression. So love really is the main ingredient necessary for conflict resolution. Once there is no love, it becomes difficult to resolve the conflict or for both parties to stay together. And it is good that we begin to understand love in its unconditional expression. So love is very critical. Love is very important. Then there's forgiveness. There's forgiveness. Let's check the dictionary meaning for forgiveness. Forgiveness is a conscious, voluntary decision to let go of resentment, bitterness, and the desire for vengeance towards someone who has wronged you. Let me read it again. Forgiveness is a conscious, voluntary decision to let go of resentment, bitterness, and the desire for vengeance. Conscious, voluntary decision to let go of resentment, bitterness, and the desire for vengeance towards someone who has wronged you. It says it is an internal process aimed at personal peace. It is an internal process aimed at personal peace rather than an obligation to reconcile or forget. That tells you forgive people for you, not for them. Your desire to have peace within you supersedes the obligation to reconcile, because it's possible to reconcile with people and still lose your internal peace. That's how you know it's not forgiveness. I spoke with somebody once, and I think the person was hurt by someone. A lady, a young lady. The guy jilted her, something like that. Broke up with her, or something. So she came to me and was holding her chest. Oh, he did this to me. 1 week later, I say, have you forgiven? Say, yeah. I'm saying, anything I remember, my heart used to beat. My chest is pain. I say, yeah, we go. I say, yeah, we go. Now, no doubt that lady had gone through a lot. I mean, you can't imagine what the experience was like. Pain is personal. We talked about dealing with pain. Pain is personal. The only way to know how a person feels when they're in pain is if you have had a similar experience. So sometimes don't be quick to judge people and say, oh, why can't you forgive them? And no. Listen, forgiveness is hard. In fact, forgiveness is divine. As a matter of fact, these two things, love and forgiveness, they are divine qualities. They say to err is human, right? Err is from the word error. It's human to commit error. We are not fallible, infallible, as it were. But forgiveness is divine. So forgiveness really is hard. But just like we read, it is an internal process aimed at personal peace. When there is a conflict, when you have a fallout with a person, a friend, a family member, a colleague, a loved one, a business partner, whatever, there is a loss of inner peace. There is also a loss of trust. It's like trust has been broken. Sometimes you may feel betrayed. Sometimes you may feel mocked. And if you have had such trauma again and again, your emotions can become so damaged that at that point it may be almost impossible for you to ever want to reach out to anybody or live in a relationship with people. But this is where forgiveness comes in. When you think of the fact that holding on to the issue, maybe holding on to what the person has done. Sometimes we hold on to what they have done because for many times in a conflict situation, one person's desire may just be to have someone that hears them and believes them. In every conflict, there's always one person that wants to say, oh, I was right and he was wrong or she was wrong. If they had not done this, this wouldn't have happened. What if both parties feel the same? You see that? And then it becomes painful when you expect an apology from the other party or some show of remorse. And then you get disappointed because then again, humans are dynamic. Sometimes what you expect from humans are not what they give you. But if you value personal peace, if you value the need to heal from that trauma, if you even value the relationship with that person and don't want to stay holding on to that thing, then forgiveness becomes the only way. Sometimes the only way may be the hard way. But as long as it leads to healing and restoration, you have to make effort to get to that road. There are many conflicts that will never have happened or that will never have been sustained if somebody was willing to forgive. And you have to make up your mind when dealing with humans that humans are humans. They make mistakes. They commit error. They can be cynical. You may be wronged by someone and they may be deluded thinking you owe them an apology. Yeah. You can forgive someone and they don't even value the fact that you had to go beyond your pain to forgive them. So if you are forgiving people because you think they will now become remorse and reach out to you, you may always be disappointed. Let your forgiveness be based on love for yourself, and love for the other person. Let it be based on value for your internal peace. Let it also be based on the need to heal. It can also be based on the need to have that relationship restored. When you achieve it, that when these are the reasons for wanting to forgive, it becomes easy to go beyond yourself and reach out to that person. I mean, we have the story of the prodigal son. Took his share of his father's property, went, spent it recklessly, came back. And while he came back, his father was waiting for him. That didn't write off the fact that he was wrong. He was wrong. And we don't know the whole of that story. We only know what was given to us by the Bible. Maybe his father later disciplined him. We don't know. But the relationship between the father and the son was more important than the wrong action, which were products of a foolish mind from that son. And so the father forgave him. I've seen that some of the reasons why people struggle with forgiveness is the feeling of being taken for granted, the feeling of being looked at as the weak one, the feeling of even being framed to say, okay, because I decided to forgive him, so the other person now thinks I'm at fault. Those are not reasons you want to consider if you truly want to forgive. As a matter of fact, forgiveness makes you play God rightly in a situation. You introduce divinity in that relationship by extending forgiveness. Forgiveness is a high and a great proof of love. And we say that love is unconditional. So whether or not the person accepts it, but you have chosen to move on. You have chosen to let go of resentment towards the individual, let go of bitterness, and not even desiring that the person experiences. Now, the truth is, most times you don't really need to desire vengeance over people. Because in life, there's something called karma. Every man's actions will definitely spoil reaction. That's the truth. Do you know that even when people forgive you for wronging them, what you did will still come back? Because life is based on the law of seed and harvest, cause and effect, action and reaction. Everything you do, your actions are seeds, whether you like it or not. I saw a movie recently of a young lady who was staying with her aunt. I don't know the relationship of the other lady, but there are two ladies and they had an aunt. So one was maltreated. The aunt sided with the other one and maltreated this one. And, they were living in another city and they planned to dupe the boyfriend of the pampered one. And they drugged the maltreated one. She slept off, packed their things, ran away with the money of that one and relocated to another city. And so they hooked up to a new fish. The pampered one now got a new boyfriend and they were staying in his house. And then the boyfriend was coming back one day from work and he saw a lady running, obviously being chased by people. So he took her into his car, drove away, till they were safe. and then kept her in the hotel that night. The next day, brought her to the house. As soon as they opened the door, the pampered one, the auntie, they were worried. You didn't come back. As soon as he opened the door, they saw, say, whoo! But they did as if they didn't know the lady. So when the man left, the lady came to them. They said, what are you doing here? Behave like you don't know us. She said, no, I love life. That's what she said. She said, I love life. Life has a way of just bringing us back together. I said, now you will feel what I and that's the truth. Don't you ever underestimate the law of karma. God created that law. Every action of today comes back tomorrow. And that's why we must be very, very critical about our thoughts and our actions. And we must weigh the things we do. That's why when forgiveness becomes hard or difficult and almost impossible, give it as a seed. Because someday you will be in a conflict situation where you will need the other person to truly forgive you. Because our human weaknesses will always, once and again, get the best of us. So, there's no need to live with resentment, with bitterness, malice, and all of these things that can just poison your heart and leave you at an emotional black hole. And it has a way of affecting and ruining all of your relationship. So these are very, very important curative specialties for resolving conflict: love and forgiveness. Now, let's take questions if we have one before we bring the show to an end. We have questions? Okay. Please. Who is reading it for me? Okay, read yours. Yes, sir.
This is coming from the person you addressed this question earlier.
Okay, one of the questions I answered earlier. The first question, okay.
So he said, thank you, Apostle, for your response. He said, I have observed that during conflict resolution, people often focus on telling the quieter person to calm down rather than addressing the action of the more aggressive individual. So from biblical perspective, how should such situation be handled?
Now, the fact that the sane or the quiet person is told to calm down does not mean they are infringing on that person's right. The truth is, you cannot resolve conflict in a heated situation. There has to be general calmness for discussions to happen so that the conflict can be resolved. So the fact that you have decided to calm down does not mean that the other person who is aggressive or has taken the side of aggression is infringing on your right. As a matter of fact, you have shown maturity. And the person holding on to aggression has just shown they are the problem. So when you tell the quiet person to calm down, the quiet person should not feel bad as though he or she is having to sacrifice, their right to speech because of the other person. That's even a sign and a display of understanding. One person has to be quiet. You see, how does an argument ensue? One person talks, the other person talks. Then this one responds, then this one responds. And then it becomes heated. When one person keeps quiet, the other person will talk for a while and become quiet. Because only a fool that keeps talking even when nobody's responding. Okay? So, I think it is an advantage when one person decides to calm down. At such point, you can now use the isolation method, the separation method. Remember the question number 3? You can separate them, encourage the person who remained calm, listen to them, hear their side. Then you go to the aggressive person. In fact, you now have an edge over that person. Even if you are right. Why will you display immaturity by always talking? And then you can use that to hold them down emotionally. So I think it's okay. It's not infringing on the right of the quiet person. No. It's simply trying to create a calm, peaceful, and friendly atmosphere so that there can be settlement. All right. So I don't know if if your question has been answered in that way. Okay. Do you have another question there? Okay.
If you forgive someone,
Mm-hmm.
but still hope they experience the consequences of what they did to you,
You have not forgiven.
have you actually forgiven?
You have not forgiven. We read the meaning of forgiveness from the dictionary. It says forgiveness is a conscious, voluntary decision to let go of resentment, bitterness, and the desire for vengeance. These three must be included for it to be pure forgiveness. And I know it's hard. That we said it. Forgiveness is hard. It's like throwing away all your rights. But remember, we are discussing conflict resolution. This is not a court case. It's not about right or wrong most times to resolving a conflict. It's about understanding. And that's why I believe forgiveness doesn't happen automatically all the times. I think it's okay for somebody to take a while before they're able to forgive. I think it's okay. Regardless of your religious faith, forgiveness is difficult. It's not easy. It's easier. You can easily advise somebody until somebody slaps you in the market. Or you go for grocery and then you carried everything and you're going, somebody just hits the bag and the whole thing is on the floor. Then the lion in you, the lion, the conqueror, the emperor is here. It will come out. So take some time, pour out all the bad emotions, drain out all the bad blood, and then decide that you will not allow that issue make you resentful or bitter. Or not even, you don't even need to desire vengeance over people. Whatever they do gets to them. However, when you have truly forgiven, you wouldn't wish that they get the repercussion of what they did to you. Yeah. That's true forgiveness. And that's why it is divine. Any other question? Okay. I hope they are not asking question from question.
Someone said, "Good day, Daddy. How do you resolve a conflict whereas you keeping your cool is seen as being nonchalant, and you trying to explain is interpreted as being defensive?"
So you are stuck. You are in between two options. If you keep your cool, they'll say you are nonchalant. And if you what?
If explain yourself, it's interpreted as you being defensive.
So, in this case, this person is one of the parties in conflict. Right? One of the parties in conflict. This person is not the mediator. So my advice, simply speak to the mediator. Especially when you people have agreed to have a mediator. When you have an agreed mediator. At least that person will be neutral to know that your willingness to be quiet while the other person is aggressively talking, or your intention to explain, does not mean any of those things. It's a different thing when it's the mediator. Okay, but if it's the one of the parties involved, then you need to talk to a neutral person. Because you can't tell somebody in a conflict to keep quiet forever. There has to be something to say. There's a bad blood that must be drained. Right? Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate, cultural differences and part in Africa and all of that, where a gender is forced to be quiet. Culture, sometimes. say, no, this gender, you're supposed to be quiet. Don't talk when your husband is talking, and it's wrong. That person will just end up becoming resentful and bitter. And until we get it right in this aspect, in culture, the bias of culture will continually cast a dark shadow over conflict situations in relationships. I believe in a conflict, everybody needs to be heard. Whether there's an accused or an accusee, or whether they are both wrong, everybody needs to be heard. And it is your job. Thank God we talked about third party role. That's why never you play mediator if you don't have the wisdom of knowing how to resolve issues between people. And thank God during the third party role, we talked about the fact that there are some conflicts that may linger. You may not be able to resolve it at one sitting. So, I hope that question was answered. Any other question before we go? How many more? They're asking questions from questions. All right, let's hear. We're already out of time, but let's just attempt these two questions. The rest we'll leave it till next week. Yes.
The other one here says, I forgive the person, but I always remember what happens whenever we see each other. I don't think this was a question.
Okay.
Yes, he just wrote, I forgive the person, but I always remember what happens whenever we see each other.
That's true. Forgiveness does not mean forgetfulness. Only God can forget when we wrong Him. Forgiveness may happen within a short period, but forgetfulness takes time. But if you have truly forgiven, over time, the memory will gradually slip away. So it is normal to always remember what they did. The only thing is you need to ask yourself, did you truly forgive them? And how would you know if you've truly forgiven that person? The last time you saw that person, was there a feeling of resentment? Would you say that there's some form of bitterness in your heart? Which also leads to the desire for vengeance. Do you wish that it should happen to them? If you don't have these things in you, then you've truly forgiven. Give it time, the memory will slip away. And even if the memory remains forever, the pain would have been gone because the scars are healed. That's why next week we'll talk about healing. Remember, it's love, forgiveness, and healing. So we are going to connect it and see how love, forgiveness brings healing. What's the last question now?
How do you balance discipline in response to wrongdoing, brackets, and forgiveness, looking at it from corporate standpoint?
Okay. Within a corporate organization. Now, you see, the rules may be a bit different. When there is a conflict between two individuals, that's quite different from when somebody within a corporate space infringes on the laws of that organization. As an individual, you may forgive them. But if rules have been broken and there are disciplinary measures that must be taken, you have to enforce that. For instance, if there are rules that if you come late repeatedly, so and so action will be taken against you. And so you are the HR, let's say, or you are the head of programs or something, or maybe the manager, the line manager of that individual. And the person came late the first time, you let them go. The second time, you let them go. It's true that you are forgiving them. But you need to differentiate between a righteous act and serving justice. Because you keep forgiving them, there's no problem with that. But they broke the law of the institution. They didn't offend you. If the person offended you, you can forgive for as long as possible. But the offense was not to you. A law was broken, and they must be served. And the reason for discipline is not to punish people. The reason for discipline is to impart the attitude to avoid that action. So you can forgive the person, but the person should be suspended. So we need to know where to draw the line between righteousness and justice. We need to know when to draw the line between an individual situation and a corporate sanction. That's my take on that question. All right. So if somebody killed your younger sister now, he'll be arrested. It's a criminal offense, a felony, and be charged. In fact, it's a crime against the state because the person he killed is a citizen. So you have the right to forgive, but you do not have the right to release them because they have, it's a criminal offense. And there is justice that must be served. That's what to do in such case. All right. Thank you so much for being a part of Mentored. Your questions actually overshot our time. But then again, we always want it to be interactive. And I'm so glad that we had these questions. I know there will be many more questions to come. So you can write me on my email, which will be on the description box or the live chat session. Or you can simply just ask your questions right now on the live chat sessions. We'll collate them and then answer them next week. Next week, we'll talk about healing and see how love and forgiveness can culminate into bringing healing. Not just individual healing, but also healing relationships. Because conflict resolution is integral for maintaining individual, corporate, and societal peace. Thank you so much for being a part of Mentored from me, myself, and the team in the studio. It's have a lovely evening, fantastic weekend, and God bless you. Bye-bye.